Hare Krishna. So let us start. This is on chapter 7, Jnana Vijnana Yoga, knowledge of the Absolute. We are going to start a new section, that is Bhakti Yoga, for the next 7 to 12. Okay. And let us pay obeisance to Sri Radha Govinda. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Nanaka Shalakaya Chakshulmitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manabhishtam Sthapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vittam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakana Vittamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dino Bandho Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpatra Abhyascha Kripa Sindhu Aveyevacha Patitam Nam Pavnebhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pascha Deshatarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So let us start. So we have a short recap about what we did yesterday in the last chapter 6 on Ashtanga Yoga. So Krishna gave all the 8 practices which involve in Ashtanga Yoga: Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dhyana, Dhira, Dharana, then Samadhi. So people here today, we are lot of schools are there on yoga, but they don't focus on spiritual aspects. All they talk about is the asanas and how it helps only in the health practice. So people just do those asanas and they're happy with their health, but there is nothing to do with the spiritual aspect. That is, yoga means you have to connect to the Lord. And in this, controlling the mind is very, very important. Controlling the senses and the mind is important, and only abhyasa to kaunteya. Krishna says only through abhyasa we can, and vairagya we be able to practice this. Otherwise, it's very difficult to practice this yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. So then Arjuna was worried whether what happens to the people who have started it, but they are not successful in their life in this destination. Then Krishna says there are 2 things. One were in the preliminary stages, if they have succeeded in that, they will go to the heavenly planets, enjoy their pious activities credit, and then they come back to, they will be born in the pious family or in the aristocratic family. But people who are advanced in the yogic practice, then they will be born in the transcendental family, because they will continue their progress in yoga. Okay. So then finally, Krishna compares to all and says Bhakti Yoga is the topmost yoga. That is the concentrating the mind upon the Supreme. Of all the yogis who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. So Krishna says this is the best. Concentration of mind upon the Supreme and nature of Krishna consciousness. So the process of bhakti is mainly Krishna consciousness. You are always be in things. In this chapter, there are 5 sections. Again, here Krishna is going to talk about the knowledge about Krishna because it is Bhakti Yoga starting. Here he wants to tell how people who are acting in Krishna consciousness are never deviated from the path of understanding the Supreme Personality. So now he is going to talk about himself because unless we know about him, we will not be able to concentrate or focus our mind on the Lord. So he is giving us the knowledge of the Lord, Krishna's energies. Then how people, knowing that there are 4 kinds of people who surrender into the Lord, and there are 4 kinds of people who do not surrender to the Lord. Then it talks about the demigod worship and personalism and how delusion to devotion. Okay. So Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Asakta Manapatha Yogam Unjan Mat Ashraya Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yata Jnanasyu Chachun. Now, here, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full conscious of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So he is telling what is free from doubt. Unless we practice this yoga in full consciousness, we have to be all the time thinking of the Lord in every activity and with the mind attached to him, then only we can know him fully. I mean, we can know all his opulences and and his energies. So you're free from doubt. So only by hearing, and that too we have to hear from authority. Hear from either hear from Krishna or from his devotees who come under the disciplic succession. So hearing from authority is very important. So now, Jnanam heham sa vijnanam idam vakshyami aseshataha yajnatva neha bhuyan jnatvayam avashyasti. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and nominal, by knowing which there shall remain nothing further to be known. See what happens in this material world. The education we have, it's all on how to survive, how to get a job, how to maintain this body, but there's not much about the spiritual knowledge. So here Krishna is declaring that knowing this knowledge which is giving, then there's nothing further to be known. This is the true knowledge. And now it tells about how why people cannot take up this Krishna consciousness. Because many thousands among men may endeavor for perfection. Of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So it is not that easy to know him. They're like in the marathon race, not everybody reaches in the end, isn't it? Only very few people will come. So only here, Kaschin Mam Vetti Tattvataha. So hardly one knows me in truth. And because we can't understand him with the blunt material senses. This is tantra. So now he's talking about his energies. Okay. Bhumi Rapo Nalo Vayu Kama Mano Buddhi Revacha Ahankara Ityamne Binna Praktir Ashtadaha. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. That is the gross Panchabhutas. We are the material body is made of that, even the earth, water, fire, air, ether. Mind, intelligence, and false ego. These are subtle energies. Altogether, these 8 comprise my separated material energies. So Krishna is saying these material energies is also coming from him. Because everything is coming from him, Binna Prakriti. So this Prakriti, what we are in this material world, comprises of these 8 energies. Okay. And then this is our lower energy. And then besides this inferior nature, oh mighty armed Arjuna, there is a superior energy of mind, which are all living entities who are struggling with material nature and are sustaining the universe. Aprayam tas anyam prakrityam vidhi me param jiva bhuta mahabaho yaden darya jagat. So Jivatmas. See, we are all Jivatmas, living entities. They are animals, living entities and all. There is a superior energy. Because if the superior energy is not there, then the Jivas won't be there. Okay. So we are all part of him. So we have the superior energy. So this is the Mahatattva. Like from the Purusha, Mahavishnu, all the universes come from his body. And into each universe, Garbhodaksha Vishnu will enter to energize that. Otherwise, there will be just a gross material. Then from the Garbhodaksha Vishnu, we have Brahma coming, who does the secondary creation of all the higher planets and the lower planets. And we have that. That is our cosmic universe, right? And to each living entity, into the each matter, Kshirodaksha Vishnu will enter and energize it. Okay, so along with the superior energy, unless the superior energy is there, we are not. So we are also superior energy. But our soul is of superior energy, but we are living in the gross body. That is the material energy. So that is inferior. So now he's talking about his energies, right? Para energy and the material world. Unless there's a superior energy, the material world will not function. Okay. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So this is what I talked about. But from Mahavishnu, all the universes keep coming from his pose, and into each, Garbhodaksha Vishnu will enter to energize them. And from there, the Brahma comes from the navel and he does the secondary creation. So once he does that, then Kshirodaksha Vishnu will enter into each two things. So Jivas are all put in the secondary connection. And all this is like, when you see a pearl of string of pearls, you don't see the thread, no? You never see the thread. It's just like that. So this energy of the Lord is like the thread, no, which is keeping all this universe together. That is like when you see the necklace of the pearl, it looks together, but it is because of the thread which is keeping them straight. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain, I am both the origin and dissolution. So he is the creator as well as the annihilator. Okay, and it works upon his will. Supreme Personality of Godhead is all pervading. Everything rests on Krishna. So, O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. So now everything that's the essence of it, like in the taste of water. See, why he especially mentions, see, water is something which everyone requires, right? When we drink, we'll just drink it because we think it's required for the body. But the taste in it is the Lord. And the light, sunlight. So in all the energies around us, we can perceive him. We can realize he is present there. He is present as a light of the sun, as the moonlight, and in the mantras. He's in the sound in ether, and he's in the, if his ability is not there, then we cannot function, no? Even we can't move our hand or leg. It's all because of his energy. So by looking at his energy, we can perceive it. So the Lord says that, okay, you don't know me, but you can know through my material world. You can know through my material energies. That is Omkara. Why he takes? Because he wants us to realize his presence. That's the reason why he's talking. And now he gives a list of his opulences, that where all we can perceive him. That is, he is the light in the moon, the home in the mantras, he is the sound in ether, ability in man, fragrance in the earth, fire is the heat, life, penance is the aesthetics, original seed, intelligence, prowess, strength, and the sex life. Okay. But some people, after all that being in there, people still do not know about the Lord. Why? Because they cannot surrender. So, all states of being, they be goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of this. So, though he created everything and all that, but he is not under Maya. He is not under the myth. See, when you are born like a lion, you will be functioning as a lion. So, human being has the thing. So, but he is not controlled by the law of nature. He is beyond the material modes. And but deluded by the modes, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and exist. So it's very difficult to know, because once we come to the world, we are conditioned by the law of material nature, and we forget about the Lord. So we do not understand it. We have to get trained to learn. He is Nirguna, and is transcendental to all these modes. Okay, how do we overcome the clutches of mind? So here Krishna is clearly saying, Daivi he esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mam eva he prapadante maya etam taranti. This divine energy of mind, consisting of three modes of nature, is difficult to overcome. So he's very clearly tells, it's very powerful. This maya, this illusion energy which is there, which we are thinking this is our real world, is very difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So mama eva e prapadyante mayayam etam taranti. So we can cross only by his mercy. So if you surrender unto him, we can easily cross. It's just not easy for us to swim this ocean and try to go to the shore, because it's not. We might know the swimming, but we cannot swim across this ocean. So it's so powerful. It's very, very powerful. So unless we surrender unto him, we cannot. See, here he clearly is explaining how to go back to him. Unless we surrender, we don't. But there are people, then he is also going to talk about how 4 kinds of people do not surrender, and 4 kinds of people who surrender to him. So that, the whole realistic is going to put us in front of us. He's telling to Arjuna all that. So indirectly, he's also telling us, Na mam dustikino modaha prapadyante naradama maya bharta jnana asuram bhavam asrita. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender. So over there, they are the ones who are foolish. And why do they not? So now he's giving us the examples. Muda. So these is like the hours. No? They work 24 hours. They don't have time for spirituality. They work. They're going after money. They want to build this, build that. They don't have time for spirituality. And the end, what happens? Only during death, they see the Krishna. So they don't take time out to know about the Lord, but at the end, death, they will face Krishna as the death. And there are people who are atheistic, very, very knowledgeable. They know all this, all about the scientific, all this, like the poets and all that, but they think there is no God. They are atheistic, and they are very proud of their knowledge, whatever material knowledge they have got. They think they know everything. So, and that kind of people do not surrender to the Lord. And Naradama, they are tuned to doing a lot of sinful activities, so much inclined to do that sinful activities. They do not surrender because they like to do all the sinful actions. Whereas demonic people like Ravana and them, they are by nature completing. They want to defy the Lord. They know they can't, but they want to defy the Lord. They want to have more power. They want to think. So these are the 4 kinds of people who do not surrender unto the Lord. So Krishna says, he clearly explains to us, and he knows. So now he's telling Arjuna how these 4 kinds of people do not surrender unto him. And so then who does it? Who surrenders to him? Why do they not surrender? Because of their ignorance. Okay. And Chaturvida bhajante mam jnana sukrinta Arjuna artho jinasu artharthi jnani cha bharata sab. Oh, but among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me. That distressed. The people who are in distress, they normally turn to the Lord to ask his mercy to come out of the distress. Then desire of wealth. They want in need of some things and all, they turn towards the Lord. Inquisitive. They want to know more about the Lord, his pastimes, why he is there and what is the creation and things. They are the one Jignasu. And who is searching for the knowledge of the absolute. They are the jnanis who want to be in Krishna consciousness. So these are the 4 kinds of people who surrender to me because they render devotional service. See, what we have problems in life, that there are 4 kinds of problems which even scientists today have not found solution. One is for the birth, death, housing, then the old age, and the diseases. See, diseases, they can only at the more, but why it comes, how it comes, they might on the superficial, but these 4 miseries is there in all. Globally, everyone goes through these 4 stages of miseries. And for that, we have still not, scientists think they only made our, they might instead of sleeping on the floor, they might have made a better bed or better apartment or better movement, but they have not able to come across this fine solution for these 4 miseries. Okay. So here Krishna is explaining us about how people who surrender to him. So, and we can take some examples, like we have Gajendra Moksha. Here Gajendra who was troubled by the crocodile, no? Ultimately he surrenders to the Lord. In fact, even in his previous lives, he would have been a great, so he would have been, because of a curse, he would have become an elephant in this birth, but because of his prior births, pious activities and meditation, he will remember the Lord at the end hour, and he gives a beautiful prayer. You know, it is there, Gajendra Stuti in Bhagavatam, we can see that. And then we have Draupadi's case, who when she was trying to be people, Duryodhana's brothers were trying to disturb her, how she surrenders to the Lord. So these are the example of distress. And then we have here Vyasudev's wife, who that's Shukadev Goswami, who doesn't want to come out into the world because it is of Maya. Finally, Krishna comes in and gives him the assurance that he will be liberated. That's why for 16 years he was in the womb of his mother. And here we have Parikshit Maharaj. He will come to know that he has only 7 days to live, and then he wants to know what's to be done in these 7 days, how to focus. So that time Sukadev Goswami recites the Bhagavatam. So that Bhagavatam, how by listening, you will be remembering on the Lord until your hour of death. Okay. So that is a Srimad Bhagavatam. Then we have the case of Dhruv Maharaj, who goes for wealth because he wants to have a kingdom much, much bigger than his grandfather or anybody else. And he does the great tapas. And then Narayana gives him the benediction. So he goes after wealth. Here, Vali, who goes to Sugriva, who goes to Lord Rama for wealth. Naimishara sages, they go for this. So they are the Jnanis and the Jignasus. Okay. So these are the 4 kinds of people who surrender to me through devotional service. So Krishna is, so he is very much explicit. It's not that he is only telling that to Arjuna and just giving, but he is giving the entire scenario, how people come, and because this process is not that easy. Process of bhakti is not easy. So of this, the wise one who is in full knowledge, in union with me through pure devotional service is the best. I am very dear to him and he is dear. So only devotional service will please the Lord, nothing else. So here he is talking about the Bhakti Yoga, how this worshipping him how he can be elevated in the Krishna consciousness. So he will simply directly engage himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness and come to know that he is actually a part and parcel of it. So after many births and deaths, he who is actually knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all cause. So everything is coming from him. The material energy, the super, and he is there. And without him, nothing moves. Even a blade of glass doesn't move, isn't it? He is the cause of all causes. He is the enjoyer, he is the controller, and he is the one who creates and one who annihilates, okay, by his will. And so knowing this and who surrenders to him, Vasudev Sarvam Iti. Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. When they surrender like that, they are the Mahatmas. Okay? And it's such a great soul is very rare. So it is difficult to be in this path, but Krishna knows it. So he says only very so. And they, who are they? They are the ones who surrender completely to him and they do devotional service. Whether they are in the material world or the spiritual world, they're all the time doing devotional service. Pure. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Unintelligent men who know me not think that I have assumed this form and personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature. So when he was here as Krishna, even Dhritarashtra couldn't understand him. He thought he was just but whatever it is, he was not willing to think. Even Duryodhana. Many people would never recognize Krishna as the Supreme Personality. They thought he's just a mystic person. That's all. They never thought he was the Supreme Lord. So he says, unintelligent men, they cannot know me because he's always covered by Yoga Maya. They can only understand me by devotional service. I am never manifest to the foolish and unteaching. For them, I am covered by my eternal creative potency. That is Yoga Maya. So the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. So he is the original. He is the cause of all causes. So Arjuna as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are to come. I also know all living entities, but me no. How he knows all living entities? Because he is there inside us. Without him inside us, we cannot move. He is there with us. Along with the soul, we have Paramatma inside this body. And Paramatma is witnessing everything. You cannot escape. Even your thoughts, your activities in the past or in the future, how you're going to be distinct. Because he knows our thoughts. He knows what we are doing. He is a witness there. We think that no one is seeing me, and we are independent and they can't. But Krishna is there. Okay. So because of that, he knows everyone. Only we don't know him. So only if you want to know him, we need to go through, either learn from Krishna or by think. Why we don't know him? Because of a desire. We wanted to desire and to enjoy ourselves independent of Krishna because of duality of desire and hate, that moha. We have got into the jala. And how do we come out of it? Now Krishna is going to say, how do we come out of this duality? Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life moves sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are freed from duality, engage themselves only by doing devotional service with determination. See, every time he talks about determination, even in the second chapter he said, only by determination we should be in this path, thinking of the Krishna. So we do our activities for Krishna. So that determination should be, if you want to be self-realized, if you want to get away from this cycle of birth and death, if you want to go back to him, then we have to engage in this service with determination. Only determination can help us to. Otherwise, what? Today you might have taken some resolution. Now we do know every new year we make some resolutions, but we don't keep. But how do we determination can be done? He says beginning because beginning of Krishna consciousness, association of persons who are Krishna conscious. So if we keep ourselves with them, associate with people who are Krishna consciousness, then slowly, our determination can be fixed. And those who know me as the Supreme Lord, as the governing principle, as the material manifestation, and who know me as the one underlying all the demigods, and as the one sustaining all sacrifices, can with steadfast mind understand and know me even at the time of death. So he says, if we know that he is the one who is governing the whole manifestation, cosmic manifestation, he is the one governing. He is the controller of all the demigods. We think the devatas are there. Okay, devatas are there who are great devotees of the Lord, and they are given different portfolios, to manage this universe. There are so many things, like a government will have so many ministers, to take care of different departments. Same way, Lord has kept many devotees, and they are functioning as per his order. So, he is the underlying or Maheshwara. and is sustaining all sacrifices, everything we do. And he says, only through me, if you surrender to me, can you cross this ocean of the materials and that cycle of death and birth and death. So only if you surrender to him, he can help us. And that too, we should be determined. Otherwise, we can't come out of it. So determined faith. And then if we understand this, then we will surely be able to surrender to him and also know him even at the time of death. So here very clearly he is giving us the process of Krishna conscious, the bhakti. Only pure devotional service we can. And that too, once you are in the association of things, then we keep on hearing about the glories of the Lord. And by hearing and the glories, our faith gets rid down. Then our anartha slowly comes down. So this is the ultimate thing which is concluding in this particular chapter. So desire, so I think liberation from birth, death, old age, and this can be done only by understanding that Supreme Lord is the governing principle of the material manifestation. So we talked about glories. Now Krishna talked about his energy, material energy, then the superior energy, that is where Jivatma also is part and parcel of him. But we wanted to desire to be in this world, so he has been sent. And then he talked about how unless we surrender to him, we cannot cross this ocean of death and birth. Mama eva he prapadyanti, only he can help us. And that too, we have to be devotional service. And why? Because he is the cause of all causes. He is the underlying governing principle. And all the devatas, we might go through devatas to him, but devatas are also working under his order. So and then he talked about why he talked about his material energies, we can perceive his existence. He pervades everywhere. He is there, everything, in every living entity. Without his presence, you cannot think. It's there in the sunlight. He's there in the moonlight. He's there as the heat in the fire. He's there as the ability in the man. He's there in everything. Otherwise, if we start looking at it, if we start understanding that, then we'll understand his energy and his presence. And he's there in us also as Paramatma. He knows what we are doing. But we are deluded. We are caught in the Maya and we forgot. So once we understand our position, that we are constitutional position as the eternal servant of the Lord, then we will be able to take pleasure in hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service. So this is the summary. It's a very short chapter where it's talking about the bhakti, process of bhakti yoga. Because he said that is the highest yoga. And so we learned about Prakriti and the two energies of the Lord, superior and material energy. Material energy cannot function unless superior energy is there. So, and jivas and living entities are all are in the category of superior energy. And how to surrender to the Lord. So we saw, and we have to remember Lord at the time of death. He says it's easy to remember him even at the time of death by understanding this knowledge. So, and living entity, it has got marginal energy. If he is in the Krishna consciousness, then he will be in the spiritual thing. Otherwise, if he is conditioned, then he will be in the material platform, material energy platform. If the choice is there for living entity to be either in the platform of the material energy or to be in the platform of superior energy. So, by pure devotional service, he can elevate himself to be in the spiritual platform. Okay. So, here Krishna Prabhupada had given us, as I talked to you earlier about ABCD practices. Along with that, he gave 4 restrictions because some austerity measures we have to follow. That is, no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and then all the association of devotees. This, if you practice this ABCD chanting of Hare Krishna Maha. So, if you want to get out of this dukkhalayam, you have to resort to devotional practices. That's given that, and following these restrictions. Okay. It is, some people know it's very easy. They might follow this, but it is difficult to sustain in this practice, bhakti practices. Okay, but with determination and in faith in the Lord, if you take to these practices, then our faith gets solidified. Okay, and then we can slowly elevate ourselves in Krishna consciousness. So this is what is a very short chapter, and unless we know about the Lord, we cannot try to remember Him all the time and be in the consciousness of Him. Vancha kalpatra abhyascha kripa sindhu evacha patitam nam pavinebo Vaishnavo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, chant. Hare Krishna. Thank you for